All right, guys, episode 19 with Stormy Knight answered a lot of the questions that I have about chatbots because I keep hearing it. I keep knowing it's a thing that I need to do, but I had so many questions and she schooled me big time. Like I learned so much. At about 14 minutes, we just talked about like getting started with chatbots, the different options. How much AI do you want to use? I mean, do you have to like populate questions and answers or you can use AI? It was really, really interesting. Around 19 minutes, she talked about how you can get 60 to 80% completion rate with chatbots. Like that's a huge number. So that part I was like, oh my gosh, my mind was blown. And then at around 25 and a half minutes, she talks about creating a hybrid solution because my question was like, okay, great. I can do like the automated answers, but then there are also times when people ask questions that I can't auto put in there, the AI is not going to work with. So how do you have an actual human get integrated with your chatbot experience? So I hope you really love this episode. I learned so much and I'm so excited to implement it. And yeah, enjoy. I'm Shayna. I love dogs, I trip a lot, and I happen to have a knack for making pretty sweet videos for businesses. But the more videos we made, the more questions I got about how video and other content can be leveraged to make a bigger impact in their marketing. I mean, 44% of marketers say that producing content is their biggest challenge, yet content marketing is 62% less expensive than outbound and produces 3 times more leads. Now, I know a lot, but I certainly don't know it all, so I made it my mission to talk with content kings, queens, and bosses to learn as much as I could about crushing content marketing, and I'm taking you along with me. Welcome to the Content Coalition. Hello, Content Coalition. Thank you for joining us for another episode. I am here with Stormy Knight, partner at Net101. Net101 has been around for a really, really long time. Tell us about what you've been up to. It's since 1995.
We had a mail order catalog from 1990 to 1995 of environmental products. And mail order is hard because you have to print and you have to mail and it's expensive. And when they were talking about the internet, I said, wow, if you didn't have to mail and print stuff, you could actually make some money doing this. And so I went out and bought Laura LeMay's Learn HTML in 24 Hours, and I started teaching classes to small businesses about what they could be doing with the internet, and that's where Net101 comes from. And then the first class that I had, someone came up to me and said, can you do a website? And I figured I should learn how to do a website, and it's been a long, strange trip since then.
So now you guys specialize in web building and SEO. What do you guys do specifically now?
Primarily SEO, some online marketing, some consulting. People bring me in to take a look at where the roadblocks are and the sales process. Our call to action's working. What else do you suggest? That kind of work.
Awesome. So do you work with a lot of small businesses, medium-sized businesses, large businesses?
Small to medium.
Great.
I'm actually working with one large business right now, and I'm reminded once again why I don't like working with large businesses, because everybody has to shuffle stuff around and they love to have meetings that do nothing and no actionable information at the end. And I'm just like, if I wasn't billing you hourly.
Right. There's so many cooks in the kitchen who need to like sign off on everything. And
it's horrible. So
I get that.
I like to be at least the touch point being either the owner, the CEO, or the marketing manager, because that you can get people to make decisions on a single phone call. You can say, here's the pros, here's the cons, here's the risks, here's the rewards. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
And you can get an answer and you can start working on it.
Awesome. So with that being said, with small businesses, what do you wish that they understood more about digital marketing?
You have to pay attention to the data. Saying that the phone is ringing is not a definitive answer to the question of how is it going.
Right. What's happening with the call? Where are they coming from? How? Yeah, exactly.
If the call stop, then they don't have the equipment mentally to understand what has happened, and or it was just a weird other thing happening that didn't have anything to do with what the marketing was. So small business people tend to fly by the seat of their pants a lot, and they shouldn't, especially in digital, because in digital you have the capability of actually seeing how things are going, and it's not really hard. If you know basic math and a few, checklist items to check on a regular basis, you can actually stay on top of things quite well. And I'm an educated seller, meaning I need to have that person understand what it is they're buying. When you sell SEO, you really are selling something that's rather ephemeral, non-existent. It leaves clues, but it's only the clues that can be seen by other people who know what SEO is. So I have to get them up to a certain level of knowledge to have them understand, I see that this has made a difference, or perhaps I shouldn't do that thing because that thing causes this problem. So the ability to go and look at data on a regular basis, just like you would measure your blood pressure on a monthly basis, or do a breast exam to make sure you're not, you don't have cancer or heart disease. In the same way, you should be looking at things either on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis to stay on top of what's going on. And that's an educated process that many times falls on deaf ears, I guess is the nice way to put it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like with small businesses and even like with some larger businesses, like if things are going well, they don't worry about tracking why it's going well, right? Because why worry about it? But the problem is eventually things may slow and now you have no idea what the secret or the equation was or what was actually working and what wasn't. So yeah, it's the fact that sometimes people wait until it's a little too late to start really tracking what's going on.
Some people are really on top of it, but most small business people are so busy putting out fires or wearing multiple hats that it is hard. Marketing people, I like the size of a company that has a marketing manager because they feel that their paycheck is tied to them knowing what's going on, and so they tend to be a lot more responsive.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those small businesses who are like, okay, yeah, I should probably get a grasp on this, how do they get started with digital marketing the way that they should with tracking everything?
Google Analytics, number one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Occasionally I do run into people that do not have it installed or have never properly installed it and did not realize. The second thing is to make sure they have Google My Business in place because we need to let Google know who you are and what you do. I consider that the low-hanging fruit of SEO. If you can get your Google My Business page claimed and set up in a reasonable way, then a lot of the other SEO problems will be taken care of automatically.
Yeah.
Making sure that there are no technical issues that is happening on their website. I've had clients say, I'm not getting any business from our website. And I go, okay. And I go look and they have it set not to be crawled.
Oh, okay.
And
yeah.
So they had a web developer go in and do some work and the web developer turned the crawl off and then they never turned it back on. So suddenly it changed. I've seen all kinds of weird things that people do. I have people go, I get no business from my website. I go, okay, how much traffic do you get? I have no idea. Okay, well, we don't know if you have a traffic problem or if you have a conversion problem. So let's figure that out first, and then we can work up from there.
Yeah, definitely. So there's a lot of different places that they can get started, but it's like at least start knowing your numbers,
Knowing your numbers is the first part of the game.
Awesome. Right on. Okay, so one thing that I was super excited to talk to you about are chatbots. Because it's something that I know, like I'm excited to learn more about. I don't know nearly as much about it as I know that I want to or I should. And I just, there's a lot of chatter about chat boxes all over social and within the marketing community. So super high level, can you just kind of go over what a chatbot is and why it can help a business or how it's been helping businesses currently?
We all know what chat is. We sit there with a mobile device and we have a conversation with someone. A chat bot is something that's programmed to replicate a conversation based on the input by the person who initiates the conversation. So there's a human and then there's a bot and they're having a conversation. There's two general flavors of chatbots. The first one is a choice-based chatbot, meaning it's kind of like the menu or build your own adventure book, the menu on a web page, that you present a series of choices, that person makes that choice, more information is presented. There's a new series of choices, more information is presented, and they basically make choices about where they go and what information they get. The other one is AI based, and AI based can be completely artificial intelligence, meaning from the get-go, the original statement that the bot makes, every choice is based on the input that the person puts in real language. And obviously, there's a huge difference in the price of those two things. The choices, making a choice-based bot is not going to be ridiculously expensive, but you do have to pre-think about what that conversation structure is and what the information is going to be. So basically, you're paying for a small amount of coding and some thinking by people. When you get into AI-based, then you're open to the infinite possibilities of what someone could put into a bot. And as we all know, there's no such thing as idiot-proof. So it takes a great deal of thinking to train the artificial intelligence to understand, here's all the things that may be coming at you, and here's all the different things that should be happening as part of that conversation. So those tend to be on the higher end. And then there's hybrids. We want you to walk through this structure, but if you throw something at us, we're going to respond in a certain way. And then there's the other aspect, which is you can have that bot access information external to itself. So I want to book a room at a hotel through a bot, then that bot has to be able to access in real time what the current inventory of rooms is, and whatever data is related to those rooms, such as what is the view from the 14th floor of room 1220B. That has programming that goes above and beyond the chatbot itself, and the integration with what may be an enterprise level amount of data. So from a technical standpoint, that's what that is. Since more than half of all search and most websites get more than 50% of their traffic from mobile, then the person who's looking at a website or a person who's looking at a Facebook advertisement is going to be on a mobile device, and they are trained, like Pavlovian dogs, to be comfortable with chat because they probably were doing it 5 minutes ago. So if they have an option to get the information that they need, or have the conversation that they want, or get an answer to a yes/no question without a live human being involved, it is not necessarily something that's negative. Matter of fact, it's quite positive, because they may say, how late are you open tonight? And the answer may be until 6 p.m. Oh, great. I've got an hour and a half. Fine. I'm done with that. Instead of, going to a browser, doing a search, going to the page, going to more information about us, there's a multi-step process because you have built a structure in that is not open-ended. But with a chatbot, either through smart structural design or through artificial intelligence, can do that really quickly. And it'd be 10 to 30 seconds to get an answer to a question that you want, assuming everything is, well built and well thought out.
How long obviously there's all these different factors that play into building out a chatbot, right? If it sounds personally overwhelming to me, which is probably why I haven't really looked into it initially. But what is the process really like? If somebody's like, okay, I really need to get started on this. Let's just say they're not going to hire a team to go do the full-fledged AI version of it, and they want to do the multiple choice, basically, that takes them through the build your own story, if you will. Like, are there tools that people can utilize and do it themselves, or are there agencies that they need to contact? Like, what would the steps be to get that rolling?
If you're doing something really, really simple, like, let's just say, you're in any basic brick and mortar business, and you're the local yoga studio, or you're a dentist, or you're a restaurant, or whatever it is. There are a number of fairly simple programs out there. Mobile Monkey is one of them that I think someone I don't want to assume that someone who doesn't have a coding background will be able to 0 to 60 on that, but someone who does have any kind of a coding background or has done HTML or understands a mind map or that kind of stuff could probably build their own, especially since most of the simple ones, Chatfuel, ManyChat, and MobileMonkey, have templates. So you can basically take a template. I mean, that's how I learned to do it. Was I started out with MobileMonkey, and then I went to Chatfuel, and now we're using ActiveChat because it has the capability of connecting to outside data sources that are better than the other 3 that I mentioned previously. But basically it was, put a block over here and hello, and then they do this, and then hello, and then they all link together, and you go through basically a decision tree process, and you have a bot. Now, the harder thing is, what do you want this thing to do? Do you want them to be able to send you an email? Great. Do you want them to be able to purchase something? A little bit harder. Do you want to show inventory? Yeah, harder than that. But if you're trying to make a presentation and you're trying to get someone to contact you, it's fairly simple because it isn't going to take a huge amount of logic, and it can function like a lead generation form if you want. And on that same idea of a lead generation form, if you're running Facebook advertising and you're building this in Messenger, which almost all of the chatbots use Facebook Messenger as the communication platform.
Really? Okay.
And I can get into why in a couple minutes about why you would want to do that. But if you're running advertising for the longest time, if you sent people external to the Facebook gated community to your website, to a landing page, hey, you got a lead, yay. And then Facebook said, no, we don't want you to leave our little gated community here. We're going to push your ads down, but we want people to go to Messenger. So send them a Messenger. And previously, the Messenger tools at Facebook were so rudimentary that was not a good option. But if you have a chatbot of any kind, you can have the ad that says, here's the cool incentive item that you've been wanting because we demographically profiled you and we know you want this thing. And you go to it and it says, oh, super great that you came here. Is your email address stormy@net101.com? And you go, yes, because they're pulling that data out of Facebook. Is your telephone number blah, blah, blah? If you've opened that up to the public, you can see it. If not, then it will ask the question, what is your telephone number? What is your real name? That's coming from Facebook, because we all know that a lot of people sign up for mailing lists with fake email addresses and fake names.
Yeah.
And now here's your incentive item. Thank you so much. And you have real data on a real back end. You know what offer was given to that particular person, because you can pass that information through the bot to the database that's being maintained by whatever chatbot platform you're built on. And so that you know that they like blue t-shirts and not red t-shirts because they looked at both ads and clicked on the one that was for blue. So you can pull in a lot of marketing information. You can get real data on the people. You can lead qualify them if you're in an industry that requires, you've got to have $50,000 to invest in our, in our fund. So you can literally ask the question, do you have $50,000 to invest? And if the answer is yes, then you throw that over to your sales rep. And if the answer is no, well, here's a PDF on how to save more money and invest over a period of time. So they're not saying, you're a loser. You're giving them a real reason to continue to have a relationship with you. And anything that you can break down in a marketing relationship, you can ask a real question, because psychologically, humans are wired, if they're asked a question, to answer. So when you throw someone over to a landing page, let's say, and you have that little pull-down menu that says, do you have $50,000 to invest in our fund? Well, great. there's no going to be no interaction there, and there's going to be no sense that I need to fill out the other 12 fields that you asked me to fill out. But you can ask 12 questions in a chat because you're only asking one at a time.
Right.
So you're going to get much higher completion rates and lead gen rates on that initial contact than you would ever get sending anyone to a landing page. I mean, if you send someone to a landing page and you get a 4%, I'm going to fill out this form, even if it's short, even if the incentive is really kind of cool, you're doing something really right. If you send someone who has been triggered either through paid advertising, something they saw on a website, some other reason that they got to the chatbot, you can get 60 to 80% completion rates.
Really?
Yes. There's a lot of things going on here psychologically with people that it's just a natural extension. As long as you don't weird them out or throw them into a dead end that they can't get out of. We're used to talking to our friends and then having these, halfway conversations and then later picking it up some other time. And that's another reason, one of many reasons why Facebook makes sense, because if I'm at work and I see something and I go, oh, I really like to get that thing. And I start that conversation and then, oh, it's 5 o'clock. I got to get out of here. And then I go home and I open up my tablet. My Facebook thing is still going to be in the middle of that conversation and I can finish it. It's not like, oh yeah, I went to that landing page and I filled it halfway, but I wonder where that went. And then you're gone. I mean, as we all know, if someone's left a website, the chances of getting it back are slim to none.
Super random question about something you said a bit back. What would be an example of something that creeps them out? Have you seen anything interesting?
Well, there's a general rule of thumb in building chatbots that you're supposed to state that you are a chatbot. Because if you don't, if you put too much personality on it and it gets a little too informal and a little strained, I mean, it's one thing. It matters what your branding is. It matters if it's, fun and different, or if you're, looking for a $500,000 investment in a money market fund. A money market fund should have a fairly business structured thing. I've seen inappropriate things, because somebody designed it goes, hey, let's do fun gifts. It's like, poop emojis in a business thing, that gets kind of weird. And I think we should err on the side of light, but not weird. Unless weird is your brand.
Well, yeah, I mean, to each their own, I guess, right? If we were all the same, it'd be boring, but still, let's also not go that far left. Okay, so now that we've talked about the Facebook Messenger platform, like you sent over a couple of stats that are pretty staggering. So a lot of people are doing this. It shows 40 million monthly active businesses use Facebook Messenger, and that 20 billion messages exchanged every month between people and businesses. And then you said both of those data points came from the Facebook F8 conference. That's a lot. That's a lot of businesses and people and actual chats that have been going back and forth. So this is nothing new, apparently, right?
No, it's not new. If you have a Facebook business page, by default, when you do all your settings and your setting up of the Facebook page, they're going to want you to interface with their, here's some questions that you can have answered. Well, if you don't do anything, they put some default ones up.
Right.
So people, it'll say, what are your hours? And you're like, you send it off. I mean, as I play with different companies and see how they're solving things, more than half of the time when I use the default Facebook chat, I never hear back from them because they didn't know they were supposed to check.
Gotcha.
But if you see something that says usually responds instantly, then it means that there's a chatbot, because responding instantly is only something that chatbots do, right? As opposed to if a live human goes an hour and a half later and goes, oh yeah, somebody left a message in Facebook.
Right. So we have chat on our site, like most businesses do. It's not integrated with Facebook. Is that something with Messenger that we can that still integrates with whatever chat you have on your site? Like, are you able to implement Messenger on your site as your chatbot and be able to communicate, or is it just Facebook that you can utilize it?
All of the platforms that build on Facebook, which is there's probably two or three dozen now. The two big players are ManyChat and ChatFuel.
Okay.
And the Mobile Monkey is like coming up third. Um, Once you build it on Facebook, you can put it on your website.
Okay. Great.
So that go back and forth works. The reason you want that platform is that you're not in the isolated place of your website. You're actually in this other place where every time they go to talk to somebody, they're going to see it.
Right.
So there's that benefit. Now, a lot of other companies like Drip, which is a mailing program. I believe ConvertKit does. Intercom, all of the customer support things have some kind of chat on the website. And if that is where you need to be in terms of, sending it into a support desk or something like that, and really Messenger is not the place where you're going to have that conversation, then yes, that's that. You've got it on your website. But if you want it to be an integrated part of a conversation between your company and consumers, then there's like 1.5 billion consumers on Facebook. So there's that benefit.
Right. Is there a way to hybrid it so it's not simply the automated chat, and that if they do have a question that you still want to be able to answer more thoroughly, they're able to get those answers from an actual human?
Yes, you want to have that. And yes, all of the platforms have some way of passing off. And it has to be, optimized or customized for each one of those possibilities. The simplest, of course, would be, I'm sorry, I can't answer this question, but I've sent an email to my master and they will get back to you.
Yeah.
There's that. That's the simplest and easiest to implement. And in many cases, if you're a small business, that's the only one that makes any sense. But if you have dedicated support staff, or if you have a marketing manager or someone who could theoretically get on the line in real time, then you can send a notification through their computer that says someone is on Messenger waiting for a response.
Right.
And then you can do that. And,
Right.
and then certain hours of the day, the messages, I've contacted my master and they will be on Messenger as soon as possible. And then certain hours of the day it is no one's available right now. That old someone's live here chat thing. But no one's here. We can't answer in real time, but we'll get back to you tomorrow or something like that.
Awesome. Well, I feel like I just got like a full-fledged education on how to get this stuff set up. I'm super excited to go start playing with it now, because we have, like I said, we have the chat feature and it's literally on call. Like, if somebody messages us on chat, somebody in Repurpose House is responding to it, and they're basically like sitting there on call. And a lot of the times, you're right, it's the same question, and that can be automated, no problem. But it would be nice for that to populate if they were to open Messenger or Facebook and see like that conversation that they already had. I mean, it's just another touch point really with your brand to them. So I'm excited to start diving into that. Thank you so much. Is there anything about the chatbots that you feel like we haven't touched on that people should know?
Remember that in the same way that you, as a person who's chatting with a friend, could send an image, could send a PDF, could send an audio file, could send a video file, could send anything that's in a digital format. You can make incentive items that are of value to people and deliver them through this platform.
Awesome.
So that's an important thing. So, and like you said, if you go back to Messenger 2 days from now and you go, oh, that's right, I had that PDF on how to fluff up my parrot or whatever it was that you contacted them for. It's there in Messenger. It's not like I had to keep track of it somehow.
Awesome. Very, very cool. Well, then what is something that anybody who's listening or watching can implement in the next 48 hours, be it chatbots or, whatever else you're thinking, that doesn't require like a full team of people, that will actually kind of get them a step ahead of where they are today?
If you have Facebook Messenger on your phone, there is on the bottom in one of the navigation points is Discover. And discover is things that Facebook recommends on Messenger. And in almost all cases, probably 80 to 90% of the cases, those are chatbots. And so the big national companies have spent a lot of time and money and programming to create really awesome chatbots. So as an example, you go to the Whole Foods chatbot and they said, what do you want to cook? And then you go, I want to cook eggplant or whatever it is. And then it will pull up a bunch of different recipes, which are part of the marketing content that Whole Foods has, but they're making it in another more interesting way. And you can also order 1-800-Flowers through a chatbot. You can do a lot of different things, but that Discover, if you look at it does the little thing of responds in instantly or responds in a day or whatever the average is. But if you see the ones that are instant, then you can go in and just play with them. And as soon as you get a sense of, oh, this is what this could actually accomplish, then you have a much more broad understanding of what you could theoretically accomplish with it in your business.
Yeah.
There's lots of fun ideas in there to see what really high-end, really expensive tools can do.
Sure.
You can say, okay, I can take this down a couple notches, and I could really accomplish something, like you said, answer those consistent questions that either come up on the phone and divert resources internally. You're burning away at your writing, and then all of a sudden someone sends you a direct message, and then you see that it's something that you've answered 150,000 times. So why am I answering this again? So when you have those pain points and you say to yourself, well, that's just the way the world works. No, it doesn't have to work that way. Chatbots can actually solve those kinds of problems.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for spending time and chatting chatbots. This has been awesome. If people want to check out, Net101 and you and what you're up to, how can they find you online?
Net101.com.
Awesome. Right on. Well, thank you so much again for coming on this show. I'm super happy that we got a chance to chat. And guys, thanks for watching and listening, and we will see you guys next week. Thank you so much for checking out this episode of the Content Coalition. Now, whether you're listening or watching, make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel and to whatever platform you're listening to it on, because you're not going to want to miss out on the incredible things that I'm learning with these amazing content marketing pros. So make sure you subscribe, and we will talk to you next week.